You can go a little harder.
Today, what we're going to talk about is a little bit of after-action report from 100 Acre Wood. So our last video that we did together, Tim was talking about me getting ready to go out. I was excited. I had my fire extinguisher go off the last time I went. I drove off the road and barely finished the rally. This time we're coming back from 100 Acre Wood, so I want to talk with you a little bit about that today, if that's okay.
You're still in your rookie mode, though. Don't think you're done messing up.
Yeah, but we had a pretty good result this last race, so I'm excited to talk with you.
Winning is always good.
So, what happened this weekend? We went out, Glenn and I went out and raced the 100 Acre Wood Rally. We had a lot of little incidents, but now for me, the racing is becoming more and more finding those little times and those little opportunities to be faster. I went off the road a few times, Tim, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But ultimately, all of it ended in where I was able to finish every stage. I finished the rally and ended up winning by a healthy margin for our class. So, it was one of those things that for me, it was an awesome achievement to get to there and rally. But, trying to manage a little bit of the humility and, things went really well. And there's a few moments where it could have all gone very poorly, right? And so one of the things, Tim, that we've talked about is kind of luck. There's a lot of times where you've used luck in racing and sometimes your luck runs out, right? And there's definitely two times that I'm going to show you here where I got lucky and I used some of my credit, so I don't know if I'm going to have that in the future. But what do you think about luck in racing and, how do you leverage that?
Well, luck isn't sustainable, just so you know that.
Right.
It works sometimes, but not always. And you're not Irish, so it's going to be a tough one to keep luck on your side. What I think you're noticing is, you've done 10 or 12 rallies. You're getting to that point, which I say is at minimum of 20 rallies before you've learned enough to stay on the road and stop worrying about other people's times. You've found all the little things that you've done with not just training, but also testing, car setup, understanding mechanical aptitude. How it works with cars, transmissions, shifting. You've learned a lot this last year, and I think adding that with a co-driver, next level co-driver, a lot more, two-pass recce and video recce. I think you've already fixed, from last year to this year, you've already fixed a dozen things. You probably have another dozen little things to worry about.
Right.
But what I like mostly is you're still not worried about other people's times.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you're a new driver, you've done a few rallies and you think it's time to start winning. Well, no, you need to do 20 or 30 rallies before you can really consider time to start winning. And I think a lot of people are they're setting themselves up for failure when they can come into a sport like rally, which is so difficult and requires so much effort and practice and training and testing. You just can't expect it. And if you do, you'll make a mistake. You'll try to keep up with Mr. Sear or somebody fast like that. You need to just chill out and just get some experience. And I do look at it like as a pilot, the first 200 hours of a pilot are the most dangerous because you know enough to fly an aircraft, but you don't have enough knowledge of how to fix all the things that go wrong, engine problems or fog or whatever. So that's why they say most pilots have to be 400 or 500 hours before they get out of that danger zone. So I appreciate you being more careful than probably you want to.
Yeah, and for me, I guess, and that's a different thing about me versus maybe some other people, is I never was really competitive in sports and other things. Even in business, I don't feel I'm competitive. I'm collaborative, and so I don't have that need to win as much as most people probably do. I enjoy the challenge of what I'm facing, and the challenge to me is the one thing I did know about my times at this rally was how I did from the last stage. So when we ran every stage twice, I did have Glenn tell me the difference of those times, and every time I ran the second running, it was a faster time. And so it was
against yourself.
Against myself. So I was just thinking about, what did I do in this? How did I enter a chicane? What was I doing with myself to make my own times better?
Right. I believe that was the correct approach.
And that's
Don't
fun
worry
for
about
me.
what other people are doing, because they might have different power or more or whatever. worry about your own. And then I loved when the stages are run twice and I can make fewer mistakes the second time. Usually stages get worse with wear. You know, the ruts get deeper and you can't go as fast. But when you're going faster the second time on a stage, a gravel stage, you're probably doing better. You're getting better every time you run that stage. And even when you're testing, you run the same stage over and over until you get the same time. Then you start making your adjustments. So I think your approach was right on just check your own time. Don't let your ego get involved with beating somebody else.
Yeah. So I did have some few mistakes. So stage 1, we went out and we did testing beforehand. We had a good car set up. And I was fairly committed to trying to drive fast from stage 1. And that was something new for me. I usually kind of use stage 1 to really get comfortable and build up like a significant speed gain on the second stage. This rally, I wanted to actually try to kind of start from scratch really fast. And so we were really moving on stage 1. But then what ended up happening is in my note system, what I was trying to do this time is have some more cut calls and have some more pluses and minuses to really gauge 5 minus 4 pluses, kind of get closer to that being perfect in those tighter corners. And so what this issue was we ended up having I think it was a 5 minus cut call, and there was a rock on the ditch.
Long crest 100.
So I'm coming in pretty fast.
5 minus left short cut 150.
5 minus left short cut.
Yes.
I confirmed the call because it was a cut call, and I'm nervous about cut calls.
Oh,
And there's that rock on the inside. Shoots me
Flat right short.
to the outside, right?
shoots me to the outside.
And
Well, it rattled you.
short.
It rattled me, and it even to the point where my glasses, like I couldn't see for a
It
second,
definitely looked like it hit hard.
and I slipped off the gas pedal. So it was like it felt longer than it actually ended up being in the video clip here, but like that compression I wasn't ready for, right? And so I was everything from the moment I hit that rock to when I'm in the ditch on the other side of the road, I'm just trying to figure out how it happened, why it happened, and the fact that I'm already nervous about cut calls and then happen to hit a rock on my one of my very first commitments. We drove on the edge of the ditch in recce, but I didn't get all the way in there like I would have. And
A lot of times that's just, if you want to cut it, then drive in the ditch or get out
I
and pick
should've.
the leaves or whatever.
yeah, I didn't spend the effort in recce to confirm that, and it definitely. So it bent my tie rod, and so I didn't really notice it until stage 3 or so, and it didn't affect much, thankfully. But my steering wheel is at 11
It
o'clock.
affects you mentally because you were probably rattled for a while.
Yeah, and so I think actually Glenn calls out here in a few corners, breathe.
Yeah, because
Turn 5 right tightens.
it's hard to shake that stuff off.
Tightens.
So I shift
look at
before the
steering.
corner.
Look at the back to the steering.
Breath, get back in.
Lots of steering.
541.
180.
So, yeah,
That's good he
I
noticed
shift
that.
before the corner, which is my tell to myself, right? That's what I've been working on. If I shift before the corner, I'm nervous. If I'm shifting in the corner after the corner, I'm like in the groove, I've noticed. So you can see I shift before the corner, I'm really loose. Glenn notices it, calls me out, and if you watch my shoulders even, like, I take the breath, I drop my shoulders, and we just start
Tense.
carrying on. And we ended up having still a pretty good stage time because even with that and the rest of the day. But
You're lucky that's not a deal breaker, because when you hit a rock in like a turn like that on the inside, you give up on 2 wheels, you can roll it easy, and you're gonna steer downhill. And if you've never done it before, if that's never happened before, you might not steer down quick enough. And usually people roll over when they hit a rock on the inside because they've never been on 2 wheels before.
let's see if I steered down. Actually, I didn't pay attention to that in the clip here. Oh, I didn't. I was
6 right
straight-
short.
I didn't
Yeah.
steer downhill at all on that.
But
Long
you're up
crest,
on
100.
not very far up on 2
5
wheels.
minus
But
left,
what happens
short.
is
Cut.
you get up and
150.
5 minus left short
your
cut.
reference changes.
150.
So now you're looking at it, the road is at an angle. Yeah, so you didn't really come up on 2 wheels.
Flat right
Don't
short.
cut. Don't cut.
Flat
Okay.
right short.
Change the notes because I knew we're running it again. So every time I found something I wanted to change, I was telling Glenn to change the notes there. But
So, that's another one. Like I say, the pilot with the 200 hours, you hadn't experienced that. It looked good, but now you're never going to trust the ditch. If it's cut, you're going to get out and walk it or drive it.
yeah.
I remember when I was in Finland that I'd seen when we did recce, there was marks like 20 feet off the road. It was like through the woods, but it was a field, but it had stumps and whatever. And you could see how Saints and some of the other guys had went out and driven right in that area they planned on cutting. And it was well off the road. Because I noticed, it's like, why are there tire marks? And then my co-driver's like, yeah, that all the top guys
They're going that way.
they're not even on the road. But they've checked it.
Yeah, they know every little stump and ditch, and yeah, it was a bad call on my part for sure. We didn't spend that little more effort, and that could have, again, luck played out for me on that, because that could have bent something more. Could have, obviously, if I went even further into the woods there, if it wasn't that wide 100-acre wood roads and this was a tighter rally, there would have been some significant trees on the outside typically. So.
Do you think that learning you've learned 2 or 3 things from that mistake? If it did come up on 2 wheels, do you think you'd look down and steer down?
I think from our experience at the rally school, I think I know to do that. Off-roading and the stuff that we do in off-roading.
Well, you learn it off-road, up on the side tilts.
Right.
And you drop in a hole or hit a bump, you got to steer downhill. The trick on a rally car is you're going much faster. So as soon as you steer downhill and it starts to come back down, you got to turn back to the road, because you're now steering off the road at that point. Right. So you got to turn it back. So you go half, you go twice as much as you did the first time, and then correct. If you think about that, someday you might be glad you've thought of it.
Hopefully not anytime soon, but yes, I appreciate that. So a bunch more stages here. We had a really good end of that day. Got back into service. The boys changed the tire rod. Really, the rest of the day 1 rally was clean. Just continued to have a nice pace. And so we started the second day. And that's when, so the start of day 2, I really started to notice in the corners the car was sliding more than I had. I'm in the corner and the car just slides out, and that was a new experience for me. The day before, the car
only on the left-handers.
More on the left-handers,
okay.
And so that was something I wasn't really contemplating in the time either.
Yeah,
it was
next time you will.
Yeah, but it was in the moment. I'm like, I tried to dial more rear brake. I tried to get the car to be set up a little better, and I just couldn't figure out in the settings how to make it better.
So it wasn't happening under braking, though, was it?
It wasn't happening under braking.
So you were headed the wrong direction on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was just desperate with the tools
Less
I had.
braking, maybe, if it was a problem. Less braking, right? Because if you brake and if you were braking and it caused it and the back end slid out, you'd go less braking.
Right.
Less rear.
But it was already braking, already in the corner, kind of coming out of the brakes. The car's lighter, and that's when
putting weight on the back, making that tire that's headed the wrong way, giving it more grip, which will make it more willing to go sideways.
So
Oversteer.
Before I get back into service and before I called you,
Titans 3+ late. Titans 3+ late. 70. That's a 3.
Titans caught me out in Tennessee.
70.
And when I crashed off the road in Tennessee and caught the little forest on fire, there was a pavement Titans, and I turned in early, and then the road tightened more, and I just wasn't ready for it. Glenn, 4 Titans.
Did he say repeat?
I verbally say 4, but I don't say Titans, so he repeats 4 Titans 3. So listen again.
I can see the trend here.
Yeah, I have a problem.
I had the same problem.
4 left. Titans 3+ late. 4 left. Titans 3+ late. 70. That's a 3.
So I got on 2 wheels on that one.
70.
My story, how I learned back in the old days, was when I was in Finland and we had notes. Those tightening, that's where I crashed the car like 4 times or something like that, every time. And I learned I had to change my notes because I was in the corner thinking, okay, this is it. Okay. And then I'd go up a gear. No, this is it that tightened. So I had to put care, caution. I had to have a guttural sort of sound to remind me that you're not done. The corner is going to tighten.
Right.
Now I just like repeats tightens. Right. So I come out of the corner and I'm about ready to go faster. And then I hear repeats, tightens. Oh, yeah, right. So that's how it helped me. Just a little trivia.
So yeah, and if you look, I get the car's a little loose at that moment too. So not only am I prepared, I'm not prepared for the tightens. My car's still not right. So I'm in the corner and you can see me starting to slide, and then the corner tightens, and that's when I go in the ditch. So I'm between the car setup not being perfect and my listening for the tightens is still not great.
The 200 hours, pilots.
Turn in now. I'm sliding.
70.
You also got a little bit off the camber too.
Right.
70.
And you think that's where it bent the beam?
So that's where I'm not sure, because
Maybe
it
the
was
beam was bent before.
it was probably slightly bent, and I think it made it worse there.
You had 2 tires with rocks in the bead. from
That's
I
what,
remember.
and so this is where I picked up the 2 rocks. Is right here. So in 5 miles is when I lose the tire on this stage.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna skip forward to that. So I start to, the car's loose. I'm starting to feel the tire going in the right rear. Every time I turn in, I can feel it squishing. And then I come
He
to,
said he really wanted to learn what it was like to drive with a flat tire. So check, we've done that.
So, Colin McRae coming into,
He's
a
inspired
time
a lot.
control with 3 tires is still like a vivid memory
Well, that's
clip.
next for you.
So I wanted to come into a control with a flat tire. So I tried it.
Flat right 100.
5 left, tightens 3 plus. 5 left, tightens 3 plus.
Oh, there's another Titan.
70.
So there's where the tire went. 50,
4 plus
53.
left.
How much to the
cut.
end?
Okay, less than a mile. 4 plus left. Short, overdress short. Okay, break into virtual chicane.
So I broke into this virtual chicane. I
Break,
feel
break. Go.
the tire's definitely
Flat
getting
right,
flat. And
100.
then this corner that tightens is when it let go.
Flat right 100.
5 left.
Yeah, it
tightens
was
3
low,
plus.
and then it peeled off the rim at
5
that
left,
point.
tightens
You
3
slowed
plus.
way down to like 20, I think.
That was a virtual chicane.
Oh, right. I'm glad you showed up to
4
20.
plus left.
How much to the
cut.
end?
Okay, less than a mile. 4 plus left.
Got
Cut.
it flat.
Okay. Yep.
Going for it.
Yep.
Go
Less
for
than a
it.
mile.
Then the
5
right-handers,
very
you can go
long.
just as fast.
120.
I get up to 60 miles an hour here with a
We're
flat
out,
tire.
200.
I'm pretty proud of myself. 67,
5 cut.
70,
Turn, 5 left cut.
71 miles an hour on a flat tire. That was a first.
Just delaminating.
Yeah, but left-hander, oh
5
yeah,
plus
gotta go
right
slow on the
short, okay.
lefts. If it was your front, you would have
Yeah.
you would
I
have
would've
barely
stopped.
made it around the left.
I wouldn't
plus
have
right
risked
short, okay.
damaging all of the
150.
internal components of the front end if I had this going on. I would have just stopped.
5 right.
Notice
Okay.
the co-driver to
Less
turn
than a
the
half
volume
mile.
up. It was
5
so
right,
loud.
okay.
with that
It's
tire.
like a jackhammer in the car. It's like pop, 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 pop.
One more turn.
Folks, you got to be proud of this guy for trying this stuff. He's one silly guy.
So we get to the time control. Glenn and I get through the control, jump out, change the tire. There's rocks in the bead on the front tire. We drive to the next stage, so the rear bumper's hanging off. There's just some components that are not great, but everything else it's fine. So we get there. We have 7 minutes before the start of the next stage, and I'm like, we got to take the tire with the rocks in the bead and put that one in the rear because that was the rear that was flat. So we jack the car up again. We switch the tires and put the rocks in the bead in the rear, so then I can at least have a little more confidence running the long stage. It was like a 13-mile stage that we were about to run, and I didn't want to risk having rocks in the bead. And we ended up going through the stage, and by the middle of that stage, I kind of forgot about it and was going back to full commitment, and we ended up having a good experience.
And
But
that right rear didn't go down with the rocks in it.
no, we checked the tire pressure at the start, and so it was a long transit, and we didn't have any air coming out, so we were confident it was, as long as I didn't have another incident, hit another thing, like it was.
Right. But yeah, when the rocks in the rim, you know, it can seal pretty good, but on the front, you got so much more load, so much more the rolling that tire under, and if it rolls it over enough, and the air will just come out of the beam.
Yeah.
So you were doing. I'm glad you did move that tire to the back.
I don't know. It hit me right then at that moment. So
there's some good decision making and some bad stuff.
some got luckies, right?
That's all right.
I cashed in some coins here. So on the transit back home to service is when we called you, because the car wasn't feeling right, and I couldn't figure out why, right? And so I described to you on the phone, it's after braking, I'm in the corner. What could it be? And what do you remember what you said?
It's a right rear beam is bent.
Yeah.
Mostly because I asked you, which side did you go off before?
Yeah.
And that you weren't on the brakes and you were in the corner, so it had to be a bent beam. And I have bent quite a few beams myself.
So then I came into service, and I'm like, I had you on speakerphone with Glenn. I jump out. I'm still thinking of everything else. Glenn goes right to Ryan and tells him that Tim said probably rear beam. Ryan checks it. Within 30 seconds, he confirms what you had already known. And so the guys were able to jump right on to making...
They shimmed it, right?
They shimmed it with my license plate. They used the second, because I have a front and rear license plate, they used the front plate to cut a shim out of my license plate to shim the.
Because it would have taken way too long to change the beam.
Right. So they just were able to get it set up, and I had a control arm they had to replace as well. So just
you had everything but the lottery.
Well, that the one where I went into the ditch there, it was a big enough impact that we were having a little bit of issues, but after that, really the rest of the rally was pretty smooth. So
you kept it tight after that. You needed that little scare moment.
So until the very last stage. So we're coming in power stage, extra points if you win the power stage.
Not that.
I wasn't necessarily worried about it, but Roberto is right behind us. He's going for the championship this year. He walks up to us and goes, if you guys could just, slow down a little bit for the power stage. We're like, haha, we don't intend to slow down. So here's the start of...
Oh no, something happened.
3, 2, 1, go. 170.
Yeah,
Whoa,
so
what's
look, I'm
going on?
20 miles an hour. I'm full throttle.
So what happened?
I'm getting no response from the car. It's just like,
4 plus left short.
And all of a sudden it come into it?
no.
Turbo problems, I bet.
I don't know. I guess turbo problems, because Alistair is having turbo problems the whole rally.
Is it?
Line block?
No. It's
So
not.
right at the
Track
last stage.
Start of the last
No
stage.
power?
No power.
Oh my God, no.
Glenn's like, no.
Just driver master reset.
Shut it off. and
Control Alt
reset.
Delete. That's all I know.
And it worked?
Well, and so there's this weird. It flashes and the car doesn't start right away. Like the clutch
Roberto's happy.
the clutch is not responding the way. Like the whole thing was weird,
And then it came out of it.
and then it just came out of it. And I don't
So
know if it's a
reset
clutch.
the computer.
I don't know if it's a clutch issue or
It
anything.
has to be electrical, right? Is this standard harness and
this is
standard
stock.
ECU?
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem. You've got so many miles on this, so many taking it apart, put it together. The harnesses usually fail. It's like one little connector somewhere on your car.
So we still get to search for that issue, but I put the car in fourth gear and I finished this whole stage in fourth gear. I didn't shift again to the end. So I just wanted to finish. I didn't care about anything else at that point, right? Like just
Right.
getting to the end now.
That's the way it needs to be.
I didn't know what if it was a clutch issue or whatever else it was, so I just got it in fourth gear, kept it in fourth gear, and we finished the stage, and we ended up winning our class and had an awesome experience. But that was just one more piece of drama right before the end of the rally. Just don't know what it was. We're still researching why, but
Well, that's why you can't get yourself too worked up over this stuff, because everybody's going to have a problem. And if you have a problem and you can't get through it, think clearly, shut it off, restart. You're going to think clearly, because everybody is going to have at least one or two problems, and whether or not it stops you, slows you down, or you lose time is up to you.
So this did happen to me in Oregon. So where you and Glenn were off the road at whatever stage it was, you were overheating in Oregon. I drive by you, and I go around the next corner, and my car does this exact same thing.
Short, 6 left, into crest, 70.
Something's wrong. I don't have power. I'm in limp mode.
Oh yeah.
So I had at least experienced this once before, and that was 4 rallies ago. So I haven't had this happen again.
But you reset it then, and
and I
everything worked?
did the same thing. I just come to a full complete stop, full master power off, wait for half a second, everything master power on, finish the stage, finish the rally, never had a problem again. Yeah. And
So that's where I think the problem is, and we've had this problem before with the first ST we built. It took about 10 rallies or so, and then it started doing this. Every once in a while, it would shut off or misfire or something. Yeah. And I think it has to do with original equipment on any new car is designed to take the connectors apart and put them together 2 or 3 times.
Right.
But in a rally car, we're taking them apart all the time. And when you're at 12 times of taking it, and finally the connector bends a little bit, and it's very hard to find. You can run it and wiggle every connector, but generally what we do after a while is just replace the harness with a motorsport harness, connectors, and an ECU.
we might be about there on that rig if we'll see.
It wouldn't be legal for open light. I mean, the class you're in.
I think you're allowed to do some of that. I'll have to ask Ryan for sure. And we're talking about an open 2-wheel drive car with this chassis at some point. So maybe that.
I think that's the only way to cure that.
Yeah.
And stop hitting things.
That would help. So 3 times where I know for sure I used luck rather than skill to finish my rally, and 100 Acre Wood was an amazing experience. Everything else seemed to really click. My timing, the trail braking, using everything the way I've been trying to do it really came together in a fast rally. And so for us, just getting to put this whole event together and having such a good result, was just a secondary component for my goals. And that's even back to driving on a flat tire. It wasn't for the competition's sake. It was just something I've always wanted to experience, was what's it like being on stage with a flat tire. And so I took the chance and went for it. But
you won't like it on a front one. Front tire is not fun. And you got more experience.
yeah,
You've learned a lot more about yourself and what you should be doing. You see the benefit of all the practice and testing and pace noting, and
yeah.
so you see how it just takes more and more. Now you don't know what you don't know, so you got to go to the next rally humble, stay on the road, make some more mistakes, learn some more.
And the last part is on the podium, Travis gets the crowd all riled up, and this is his cell phone video, Travis Pastrana, to pressure Glenn and I through the crowd to do a shoey.
Yeah, Glenn!
So now I drink champagne out of my shoe, which I ended up having a leaf in my shoe, so I got a little bit of garnish with my drink. But it was a pretty cool experience, having an idol like Travis pressure us to do something like that.
That's really cool.
My teenage dreams are all coming true through that stuff, so it was pretty fun.
You got one on me because I'm not going to do that.
I don't know if I would do it again, but if pressured by Travis in a giant crowd of people, I'd probably end up.
But if you're winning your class, I suppose you need to do that.
So Travis texted me. He's like, "Winners win," and he texted me this video.
Nice.
So, but no, thank you guys. I hope you guys learned some stuff from my experience going through the rally. Hopefully, we see you guys out on the stages. We'd love to hear any other questions or thoughts that you have, and we hopefully see you at the rally school sometime soon. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Be brave 100. Don't be brave. You gotta finish.